WVOE.
Hey, this is Dr. Brown. How you doing?
Doing all right, sir.
All right, good, 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 good. So just giving a
All
call,
right.
seeing how everything's going on down there and getting ready for this next show.
All right. Give
Cool.
me 1 second.
No problem, no problem. Take your time, take your time.
Yes, sir. All right. Hoping Mr. Elizabeth Hoffman enjoyed that selection. It's 12:16. It's time now for the Dr. Brown with the health facts. Stay tuned.
All
Okay,
right.
Mr.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I greatly appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, you're locked into WVOE, the voice of Ebony, where your health is our heartbeat. So I'm Dr. Christopher Brown, president and founder for Pressure MD, and I welcome you to another enriching session of Health Facts, the show where wisdom meets wellness and knowledge is always in season. So, as a disclaimer, I always like to tell everybody the information shared today is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not substitute for professional and medical advice. I always like to tell people I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. So, always consult your own clinician for personal health concerns. Okay, so today we're actually, I guess we're taking a next step or hitting a new level here. So we're doing an actual live stream through YouTube. So like I said, we've been doing this show for about 2 years. And, I thought, well, maybe it's time to get this message out beyond the folks in Chadburn, maybe get it out to a few more people out there. So like I said, starting today, we're going to start live streaming this through YouTube, and we're also going to reach out to Facebook as well, so that people can listen to the show as well as ask questions and maybe provide a little commentary on things. That's what we're going to start doing today, and we're going to see how it goes. So everyone that's listening out there, feel free to chime in and let us know what you think about the show and how things are going. Make recommendations if you want, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. So June is Men's Health Month, and last week we touched on kind of men's health a little bit, just kind of a broad overview. And for today's show, thought we would kind of revisit a topic that we've actually covered before, and the topic is why men's health matters and what we can do to improve it. And this comes from a magazine that I read on occasion. I don't know, sitting in here. But basically, this is what we call American College of Physicians. And what the American College of Physicians is what we call internal. Um, it's the professional group for internal medicine doctors. And what it did is actually they came up. They actually looked at the kind of the health outcomes for physicians, and they found out that it looks like the gap between you know men and women, the life expectancy gap between men and women is actually getting worse. So the life expectancy gap, which is I think we all know that in general women live longer than men. And so what they were noticing is that it looks like that gap between women and men was getting larger. So actually the largest it's been since 1996. Okay. So, and of course they had a number of different reasons for that. And, they kind of covered that. We'll talk about that a little bit here. They also indicated that 26% of working age men are unable to work due to illness or disability. And that's versus 18% of women. So 25%, what that means is that, if there are four guys there, one of those four guys is unable to work due to some sort of illness or disability. That's a pretty big number there. And, in terms of, things that are also important, chronic diseases, suicide, substance abuse, and delayed care all play a role in this life expectancy gap. and what they call deaths of despair, stress, economic strain, and addiction. So, so all these things kind of go into men's health. And so since this is June, it's Men's Health Month. Matter of fact, this Sunday is Father's Day. So, we want to remember our fathers. One of the things when we see these stats, because I mean, if you listen to radio, listen to shows, you'll get these stats. But always remember that these numbers are they're not really, they're not just statistics. When we say 26% of working age men are unable to work due to illness or disability, I mean that's like I said, that's 1 in 4. So you look around and you see every 4 people you see, every fourth person you see is not working, and so that impacts that individual's ability to not only provide for themselves, but also, if they're part of a family, then like I said, that they're not contributing to the family as much. Like I said, the overall, I guess say economy and stuff of the nature has to support that individual instead of that individual supporting other folks. And these are fathers, these are brothers, these are sons, these are friends. So men are facing a lot of serious health challenges that really need urgent attention. And one of the things we want to cover, of course, is you know at least one of the reasons they pointed out, of course, is men not going to the doctor. And of course, I feel like this is something that we overall have been discussing for years. We keep discussing it, and the reason we keep discussing it is because it continues to be an issue. And the issue is, why do men skip the doctor? Why do they not go to the doctor? And I think there are a number of different reasons. I think one of the biggest one is that the culture. I mean, there's a very disparate culture between men and women when it comes to going to clinics and going to doctors. Okay, so women typically will go for annual, GYN evaluations, whereas men, like I said, once you stop getting your vaccinations from the pediatrician, unless you play sports, a lot of times there's not really a call to go to the doctor and get physicals. And then of course most young men, they just feel like they're healthy and invincible, so of course they don't go. Then, like I said, even when you get families and stuff of the nature, like I said, a lot of times I feel like men tend to prioritize, providing for the family and doing for others, and they just kind of skip their own health care. Yet again, part of that is also because, you just, you don't know what you don't know. When you're young, you think of a 50-year-old having a heart attack as an old person, not realizing that that's not a good age to have that. So like I said, when your dad got a heart attack at 50, or granddad maybe had a heart attack at 60, you think that's a long way off, not understanding that, you need to prevent that heart attack at 50, you got to start at 20, 25. Okay. So, so we're not socialized to seek healthcare. There's young people in general tend to think that they're invincible, and the things that they're doing now don't affect them later. There's also what they call a low health literacy among men, and that is not understanding, what diseases are, what health, how to navigate healthcare, and then yet again, what these chronic conditions can do to you over the long term. In addition to that, there's also stigma around appearing to be needy or appearing to be weak. If you go to the doctor all the time, there's that stigma as well. Sometimes there's lack of connection between doctor visits and real life goals. Yet again, kind of going back to that family thing. If you see going to the doctor as distracting you from your family, as distracting you from work, instead of understanding that going to the doctor and getting these physical is part of being able to take care of your family, part of being able to advance in your career. If that connection is not there because you don't understand that, hey, these diseases, and like I said, I love picking on hypertension and diabetes, because those are things that you cannot feel until they're far advanced. Not understanding that taking care of your hypertension at 25 is what prevents you at getting a stroke at 35. You got to make that connection, and that connection a lot of times is just not there. Okay. And some men just don't see a value in visits that are focused only on weight and diet, unless you got some sort of specific tool to help. A lot of times guys are very utilitarian. So, like I said, if I go to this doctor visit, I want to walk out with something. Okay. And so those things are some of the reasons why men tend to skip the doctor. And as we discussed above, one of the things that's contributing to this gap is the increasing number of chronic diseases that are going on. Okay. Um, so we have to really reframe this conversation and let men know that it's not about weakness. It's not about weakness. It's about strength for the long haul. Remember, you're learning how to see yourself in the future. And I think especially for African American men, this, yet again, you have to go back to, we weren't supposed to make it past 25. So if if you don't think you're going to live past 25, you really don't care about anything. But if you think you're going to live to 85, if we put that in your mind that you can make it to 85, that 100 years old is achievable, but the only way you can get there is to go down this path where you get, it's kind of like keeping a car. You got to maintain it. You got to check the spark plugs, the oil, things, the brake pads, make sure everything's going okay. So, like I said, you got to apply that same thought process to your life and start early. So, like I said, as a 20-year-old, you want to go in there, you want to go, hey, tell somebody, hey, give me a physical. I want a full physical, rooter to tutor, check everything out. At age 30, you want to do the same thing. Like I said, you don't want to wait until somebody else finds something. You want to find that stuff yourself and take care of yourself. Learn to do that as not, yet again, not as weakness, but as strength. Hey, I'm coming in here. I want you to find everything that's wrong with me, and so that I can fix it. Because honestly, yeah, if you come in at 30 years old and you got, hypertension that's, what we call stage one hypertension instead of stage two, or a hypertensive emergency, guess what? Now this might be one medication, or we might say, hey, you know what? You got stage one hypertension. I noticed your BMI is a little elevated. And oh man, you're eating out all the time. Hey, why don't we change some of that? Change your diet a little bit, maybe get a little more exercise out there. And as that weight comes down, as you work a little bit more, guess what? That's stage one. You may be able to get that under control with either one medication, or some people, if they lose enough weight and get healthy enough, they're able to get that blood pressure under control without medication at all. Same thing with diabetes. You come in at 30 years old and we find that you have what we call pre-diabetes. Yes, there's a condition called pre-diabetes. So, this is between, what we call normal glucose levels, what we would define as diabetes. There's something called pre-diabetes. And if we find that, lifestyle medicine is actually the first thing that your clinician should be offering to you to manage pre-diabetes. And that is a change to evaluate your lifestyle, see what you're doing, and change that so that you can actually get your pre-diabetes under control and hopefully go back to a normal glucose level. So there's some of these chronic diseases that literally lifestyle changes can make a difference in your life. Okay. So we have to put that in there. And like I said, and as men, like I said, when people say go get a checkup, don't put it off. Don't make excuses. Hey, put that in your calendar. That just becomes something that you do. And when you walk in there, like I said, look, hey, look, I want to, like, yet again, I want to check up, find everything that's wrong with me. I want to know so I can manage it. So we want the new life expectancy for men to be 100 and not, 76. You want to collect as much Social Security as you can. All right. So, so we got those things going on there. I think that, yet again, these solutions and strategies are tying healthcare to goals that men care about, your energy, your strength, sexual health, family time. Like I said, you want to be able to play with grandkids. Okay. You want to chase you want to outrun your 5-year-old. Okay. That's what you want to do. Your sexual health, like I said, a lot of these chronic diseases, these chronic diseases are going to affect your sexual health. So, if stuff ain't working at 35, instead of going to get a blue pill, yet again, I'm gonna tell you, go get a checkup, because you may have conditions that are the reason why your stuff ain't working at 35. Okay. So we want to do that as well. And for those of you that are 65 and older, you got Medicare, make sure and Medicare actually covers your annual wellness style checks. Okay. So you want to get that stuff done on an annual basis. Okay. Yet again, preventative care, we want to reframe that. We want to, you want to change your mind to thinking about how we're training for retirement, or like I said, a goal of 100. Like I said, we want to make it there. You want to see grandkids and great grandkids, and you want that to be the norm. Okay. And then, like I said, make sure that we, like I said, maybe doing some campaigning and stuff of that nature. Okay. So, in addition to that, the other thing, so I think one of the other things we touched on were these deaths of despair, which is like, kind of suicide, mental illness. We want to make sure that you're mentally are well. And a couple of things that go into this, because a lot of people that have mental illness, there's mental illness and substance abuse, and a lot of people are treating their mental illness with substances. So whether it's alcohol, drugs, things of nature, they're treating they're really treating, depression. They're treating, anxiety, PTSD, trauma. They're treating that stuff with medication. So one of the things you also want to do is make sure you get your mental health together. Go find a counselor, talk to somebody, so that you can sort out whether these things are just kind of stress induced, or if they're mental conditions that actually need to be treated with medication. There are different types of mental conditions that are out there, and what you don't want to do is say, so one of the things is depression. So one of the things that people do with depression is they like to drink. Well, the problem is this, alcohol actually leads to more depression. So, you start drinking, your mood is down, you start drinking, that kind of takes you down a little bit more. Or if you drink enough, like I said, you start missing appointments, you can start showing up late to work, and heaven forbid, you like drive while you're under the influence and you get a DWI, because if that will really make changes to your life. So yet again, you want to make sure that you're getting your mental health checked out. So these are some of the things that that they covered within this article. I think it was a pretty powerful article there. And I just want to kind of touch base with this and use this as kind of the first um, session where I'm broadcasting live to WVOE, but at the same time, I'm also broadcasting live to, well, I guess technically speaking, the world. So that we can kind of tie this together. And so every Wednesday from 12:15 till about 12:35, 12:40, we'll be covering these different health facts where I'll talk to you about different health conditions, and hopefully leave you with something that you can take home, that you're going to take home with you, or something actionable. Okay. So continue to follow with me. Like I said, we'll do this again next Wednesday around 12:15. We'll cover this. And yet again, just kind of letting you know, like I said, this is a show on WVOE, which is a radio station located in Chadbourn, North Carolina, whose claim to fame is being the first African American owned radio station in the South. They signed on in 1962. I've been doing this radio show now for almost 2 years now, and so just wanted to bring this out to you, and hopefully this is something that you enjoy, and we can grow this program together. All right. Thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate this, and WVOE, as always, thank you for let me have some time on your show. Any questions or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for letting me tune in. Thank everybody for everybody else that's listening in, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.
For come in, there was the Dr. Brown here at WVOE, 15